The 2025 Monaco Grand Prix, a track famous for its history, precision, madness, and sometimes a bit of boredom. But this year, the chaos started even before qualifying began. Monaco has once again proven why it's the most famous race on the calendar. So let's dive into everything that happened, starting with a moment that shocked the home crowd. For Charles Leclerc, racing in Monaco is always special. It's his home race, with his fans and his chance to finally win in front of everyone he knows. But this year, his weekend started in the worst way possible. During practice, Leclerc was pushing hard, trying to find the limit on a fast lap, when suddenly Stroll moved onto his line. Apparently, Stroll wasn't aware the Ferrari was coming. Both cars were damaged, and the red flags came out. It was a classic Monaco accident. No space to escape, and no time to react. With the drama from practice still fresh, all eyes turned to qualifying, a session that would only add to the chaos. The pressure here is higher than anywhere else. One mistake, and your weekend is over. Kimi Antonelli definitely knows what I mean. Kimi pushed a bit too hard and ended up in the wall. A few laps later, Russell had his own disaster when his engine gave up, forcing him to stop on track and leaving him in the 14th place for the start. For Mercedes, it was a crushing blow. One crashed car, one technical failure, and both drivers way down the order for the race. It's a bad place to be, in a race where overtakes are rarer than crashes. And if things weren't confusing enough, Lewis Hamilton's qualifying drama added another twist. Hamilton had a decent lap, but after the session, the stewards handed him a 3-place grid penalty for impending Max Verstappen. It happened because of a miscommunication between him and his engineer. In Monaco, where overtaking is almost impossible, dropping down the grid is a disaster. Hamilton was clearly frustrated, and the team knew they had made a costly mistake. But while some big names struggled, a rookie stepped up in a big way. Do you remember when Hadjar joined Formula 1 this year? No one had big expectations, but he keeps proving himself with every race. In Monaco, he pulled off one of the biggest surprises of the day. Most people didn't expect the Racing Bulls rookie to make headlines here, but he delivered a qualifying session that everyone will remember. Despite the tough start to the weekend, Hadjar kept his cool when it mattered most. He put together a perfect lap in Q3 and jumped all the way up to P5 after Hamilton's penalty. For a young driver, performing like this on the streets of Monaco is seriously impressive. Hadjar showed real skill and confidence, proving he's one to watch. Not just in the future, but right now. In the race, he managed his stints and pit stops well, and he finished 6th, just behind Hamilton. Meanwhile, for the local hero, Charles Leclerc, qualifying brought its own heartbreak. He grew up on these streets, and every year he dreams of taking pole in front of his home fans. This time, it looked like he had it. Leclerc was fastest in every practice and was leading the timesheets in Q3. But in the final moments, For Norris snatched the pole with an incredible lap. You could hear the disappointment in Leclerc's voice after his engineer notified him. He wanted this pole more than anything, but once again, Monaco had different plans. This year, the spotlight shifted to Lando Norris, who delivered when it counted most. All weekend, Leclerc looked like the favorite. He looked faster and had a home crowd cheering for him. But when it mattered most, Norris pulled out something special. On his final lap in Q3, Norris was absolutely flying. He set a new track record, going faster than 1 minute 10 seconds. It was the fastest lap ever seen around Monaco. The timing was perfect. Leclerc had just gone fastest and the crowd went wild, but then Norris crossed the line and stole pole by just 1/10 of a second. You could see how much it meant to him and the whole McLaren team. For Norris, this was his first pole since Australia, and to do it at Monaco made it even sweeter. Norris knew that qualifying in Monaco is more than half the job done. He definitely gained some confidence back, and it could even be a defining moment in the fight for this year's championship. Oscar Piastri made it a great day for McLaren too, taking third after being just 2/10 behind Norris. With the grid set and tensions high, the race itself brought just a few twists. One of them was the new tire strategy rule that changed how teams approach the race. Every driver had to make at least 2 pit stops and use different tire compounds. That meant teams just couldn't play it safe or try to stitch one set of tires to the end. Right from the start, strategy was on everyone's mind. Some drivers at the back took an early pit stop during the virtual safety car, hoping to get an advantage, while the leaders, Norris, Leclerc and Piastri, stuck to their original plans and focused on clean, fast laps. Norris was the first among the frontrunners to pit, coming in on lap 19 for hard tires, with Piastri following right after. Leclerc stayed up a bit longer, taking the lead for a few laps before making his own stop. Verstappen tried something different, by staying out even longer, hoping for a safety car, but the leader's careful tire management kept them in control. The new rule definitely made teams think harder, but in the end, the top 4 finished in the same places as they started. But strategy wasn't the only thing shaking up the order. There was also a crash on track. Pierre Gasly's race ended early after a dramatic collision with Yuki Tsunoda. Both drivers had already pitted under the virtual safety car, but as Gasly chased Tsunoda through the tunnel, things got messy. Gasly tried to make a move heading in the chicane, but suddenly found himself running out of space. He hit the back of Tsunoda's car, damaging his own suspension and nearly collecting his teammate Franco Colapinto in the chaos. Gasly managed to limp back to the pits, but with a broken car and no brakes, his race was over. Tsunoda, surprisingly, continued with little damage, but he blamed Gasly over the radio after the accident. And for Mercedes, the race went from bad to worse with another costly moment. George Russell got a penalty that left everyone talking. Stuck behind Alex Albon's Williams late in the race, Russell was getting frustrated. Albon was driving slowly to help his teammate Sainz get a clear pit window. On lap 50, Russell decided he'd had enough and cut across the chicane to get ahead. Normally, this would mean giving the place back or taking a 10-second penalty, but Russell told his team he'd just take the penalty and try to pull a gap. The FIA, though, wasn't impressed, because it was clear Russell took the penalty on purpose to get ahead of Albon. The stewards gave him a much harsher drive-through penalty instead of the usual time penalty. This decision ruined any chance of Russell ahead of scoring points and left Mercedes even more frustrated after a tough weekend. Russell's gamble didn't pay off, and his radio message after hearing about the penalty said it all. Monaco can be unforgiving, especially when you try to bend the rules. Amid all this, the fight at the front might not have been packed with wheel-to-wheel action, but it was still dramatic. Norris started from pole and had to defend hard in the first corner, locking up his front tires but just managing to stay ahead of Leclerc. After that, the two pulled away from the rest of the field, with Leclerc keeping the pressure on lap after lap. Every pit stop was crucial. Leclerc tried to use strategy to get ahead, but Norris and his team always responded quickly. In the final laps, Leclerc closed the gap and looked for any chance to attack, but Monaco's narrow streets left him with no real opportunities. Norris managed to stay calm under pressure, made no mistakes, and crossed the line just ahead of Leclerc for his first Monaco Grand Prix win. It was a tense, tactical fight all the way to the finish, and both drivers showed why they are at the top of their game. To sum up, even though Leclerc was disappointed, especially after qualifying, Ferrari finally did a good job, and both drivers managed to finish in the top 5. On the other hand, Mercedes struggled throughout the whole weekend, and neither of the drivers finished in the top 10. Norris finally won his second race of the season, which is pretty shocking given McLaren's dominant car. But all of this has made the fight for the championship even closer. Piastri and Norris are now just 3 points apart, and their fans are excited. But no matter which side you're on, the future is still a big mystery.